we need to go for the final session, and the final session is the debate. We call it Townhall. I don't know why it is called Townhall. Maybe Janus will say. Janus is our good friend from Denmark. He's also a fellow organizer, and I asked him kindly to run the debate instead of me. He's much better at that. So welcome, Janus.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege being here. Great to get the baton from Ivo. I've invited some more people to join me for this debate. If you want to make this a really good session, you can actually earn points, and the more points you have, the more benefits you get. And the first opportunity to earn points is if you move to the front. The more rows you move to the front, the more points you get. Come on, get closer. It's going to be a very active debate, and so it's better if you can see what's on the screen and if you can hear what's being said. And so fill up in the front, and then you get more points. All right, you remember this? This is when we started a few days ago. And I'm between you and coming back out there. So, it's great to be back at Web Summer Camp. For some reason, they keep inviting me, and what a ride it's been. I wasn't able to go here on a bicycle, but what a ride it's been to follow the Web Summer Camp, get better and better throughout the years. And when I flew from Copenhagen, I come from Denmark, I saw this, and this is a little bit what I was hoping would happen down here, expect a miracle, and I think I've seen a few already. Also last night, but we can talk about those kind of miracles later on. It's been good times. This is a memory from when I was invited to Zagreb to the Netgen 20th birthday, and they showed some photos from the early days of the Web Summer Camp. I think that says something also about this event, that it keeps going through changing times. But I think also some of the recipe here remains the same, like the famous boat trip tomorrow. And this formula, that's why I wanted you to move closer so you can see Ivo sharing this. I think kind of like an annual tradition.
This is a script of what was being.
This is exactly, thanks Ivo, but now I have the microphone. But yeah, the intention was that this is connected to the previous talk. All right, it's a pleasure to be here in Croatia. This is what Google said. I really enjoy coming here. I don't get so many opportunities to go to Croatia. I learn something about the country every time. I had a few of my Croatian newer friends, some of the AV staff over there, see an early version of the slides. And here are some of the things you get from Google when you Google Croatia. You know, is it in Africa or Europe? I'll just skip that. But one of the things I've always liked when I come here is Cevapcici. But then I found out that's Bosnia, so wrong country. And then yesterday, when we walked, we saw also Nikola Tesla. And you know Konrad, he's from Poland, but Tesla is from Serbia. So, no, not? Oh, not? Okay, all right, moving on. All right, thank you. This is one of the things I've learned to say during the days. Some real Croatian inventions is the tie. Everybody knew that. Not many people here using a tie, but I think there's still room for that. There's this, of course, also we've seen that throughout the days. There's also the Croatian contribution to the European Song Contest. I don't know if you saw this a couple of months ago in Liverpool. They went to the final all the way. It was a little bit different for those of you who are not following the European Song Contest, and particularly for those of you from outside Europe. I think European Song Contest is worth looking up. But notice also here who voted for Croatia, and Denmark was one of them, so there you go. All right, let's get this started. Like I said, I'm from Denmark. This is the Danish embassy in Zagreb. Let's move on. And this is what we'll do now. I think this kind of roughly translates to hard times gives you knowledge.
No pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. And now we're going to have some debate, right? The town hall debate. And so let's get this started. It's kind of a simple format. It's a very active format. We're going to take 6, 8, 10, 12, depending on how much time we have. issues, key issues for the industry where we stand right now that you've been also spending time on in the last 3 days, and we'll debate them. The rules are really simple. We'll hear it from 2 debaters who take each side, for and against. They get up to 2 minutes each. Once they're done, I'm going to call you, the participants here, to support. And you can say, hey, I have some extra good reasons why this is the case. I have some extra bad reasons why we don't want scriptable software. Once we're done, we'll take it to a vote, and we can see if we can agree on anything, okay? Majority vote. And I also fixed a problem that Dean had with the speakers, because the debaters here, let's welcome Sophia over here. Why don't you come on stage? So Sophia joins us all the way from Atlanta, object-oriented UX. She's among the 29 brilliant speakers. But to fix it,
Hello.
I promoted Andre to be the 30th brilliant speaker. So if Dean's still here, we actually do have 30 brilliant speakers now. I promoted Andre, who's not on the list of speakers. And I've asked each to take personas. So Sophia is Miley Cyrus, I think widely known in Croatia, right? And Miley will debate Yoda. All right? So let's get this started. You get it? You see how it works? All right, we're going to take the first one. It's not a practice round, but I might remind you of the rules. You know, it's worked in previous years. So let's get it going. All right, the first topic, that's me. There was some election posters. We can talk about that another day. But I think where I want to start is that we live in changing times. I'm going to go in between you so we don't have any trouble, right? We live in these changing times. We've heard about it also throughout this conference, AI, blockchains, things that weren't here when Web Summer Camp started. And there's also a lot of other things besides the technology that's important, right? And I think we need to focus on those things. And here's from an exercise we've done at one of the group meetings where we actually talked about technology, but also did some of these exercises. And this leads me to the first thing that we're going to debate, and that's the proposal here that good product managers are senior level UX designers. And let's hear it first from Miley, why that's the case. You have up to 2 minutes. You can do less also.
Okay, so good product managers should be, or should at least have, senior UX design skills. And my argument for that is good product managers, their number one job is gathering and defining and managing requirements. And the number one source of requirements should be the users. What?
Oh, we'll take your input later. I know the rules. You work with NetGen?
Definitely, number one, the users. Who's going to actually use this? Who are we solving a problem for? This is where the requirements should come from. What should this thing accomplish, right? And then also, the second thing is the business. The requirements need to come from the users and the business. And that's going to come from user research, and who better to understand user research than your UX designers or somebody with senior level UX design skills. And I believe a good senior UX designer also understands the business.
All right.
Rest my case.
But not everybody agrees. So let's hear it from Yoda.
Hello, everybody. So I'll start with the Yoda words. We have to unlearn everything we learned to learn something. Or it was something like that. It was quite some time that I watched Star Wars. Sorry, Star Wars fans. But if you're thinking about the product itself, there were many products at the beginning that didn't really have the idea of users using them. They just wanted to make a tool that will help them. So there were people that were using some kind of technology and they were really unsatisfied. They were trying to find a way to do things, and then they didn't really did the user research for that. They had the domain knowledge. They had the domain knowledge of their problems, so they were the users, and they were trying to make things better. So I think 100% sure that a good program manager, good product manager, not project, product manager, can be also a good UX designer, but this is not 100% case if you're starting or creating something that's for you or you already have a domain knowledge for.
All right, there you go. So let's hear it from anybody who wants to support Miley. Raise your hand. Verbal arguments, things that support. Yeah, we have a first one over here. We'll vote later. Yeah, you want to say something? All right. How about down here? I think Dennis wants to say something. He wants to support this, right? Oh, well, he changed his mind. Switzerland remains neutral. All right, no. Anybody wants to support Miley? Oh, wow, you're on your own here. All right, all right. Anybody wants to support Yoda? There must be a lot then. All right, then give this guy a microphone. He'll say something to really help Yoda win this.
Yeah, can I get a show of hands? Who knows
No,
the
no,
movie?
no, that's
Who
not
knows
how
the
it
movie
works.
Tron? Oh, I'm on my own here. So we all know that users are myth. They don't exist. So since users don't exist, why should developers bother with creating stuff that users like? They don't even exist in the first place. Thank you.
There you go. All
Thank
right,
you.
anybody else are supporting Yoda that good program managers don't have to be senior level UX designers? Anybody else? Now you've seen how it works. It's not scary. All right, I think this group is warming up, Ivo, okay? All right, so let's vote. You know how that works, right? You raise one hand, not two, and then I need somebody to count. All right, raise your hand if you support Miley that good product managers are senior level UX designers. Come on. All right, I see some hands.
Okay, thank you.
There was some.
Thank
They were
you.
quiet, but
Little unpopular opinion. but-
yeah, you don't have to vote. You can abstain too. All right, raise your hand if you support Yoda. Oh, I think the proposal
Thank
does
you, do
not
I.
pass. All right, that was the first one. All right, you see how it works now? We're going to do another one. And I think this is the trick also sometimes when we're doing innovation, when we're coming up with new ideas, whether it's scriptable software or whatever it might be, inventing new concepts, building on things that's already been developed, and going back to school, learning about language. You know the difference? If this was in a German school, the objects would have been capitalized, right? Right, so the book, the insect, the frogs, right? So this brings me to another famous guy from Denmark you should know, and he's definitely from Denmark, and that's Jacob Nielsen, who's been working with this field of usability for a long time, and I think really worth reading, is still active, and this brings me to the next proposal, is that you must define your objects first.
Oh, yeah.
And I get to go first
Kind
again.
of a home turf
Again?
thing for
Do I always get to go
We
first?
do yes first.
Oh, okay. All
Kind of.
right. Okay. Anybody here that was in my workshop? Okay. All right. So y'all don't get to participate in this because you already know what's happening. But I want to ask the room to do a quick word association. Just first three words you think of when I say the word beach. Sun, sand, sea. Parking, towels. Chicks, yeah. Anybody else? Okay, those were all nouns. Those were all nouns, right? Did anybody say swimming or sunbathing? No. So when you create a mental model, when you create an image of something, especially when you're doing it quickly, all right, and you're just thinking about something, and I've done this exercise so many times, it's good 80-20 rule. About 80% of the words in a word association are going to be nouns. Think about your kids. Anybody got like 1-, 2-year-olds learning first words? What's that? Mama, ball, cat, dog, all right? And even how we teach our kids. How do we teach our kids? We don't see the duck swimming across the pond and we say swimming. No, we don't do that. We say duck. Or we give modifiers, pretty duck, big tree, right? This is how we teach, okay? And so the back of the brain here, the back of the brain, the visual cortex, is incredibly active. It's an old part of the brain, and even for those that are visually disabled, it's incredibly active. And its number one job is identifying objects. So when you come into this room, when you enter a space that you've never been in before, you are identifying the things, all right? To be able to act in a space, you need to figure out what are the chairs, what are the people, what are the other things that I don't want to run into, like very expensive equipment, right? You need to figure out what the things are so that you can properly act in that space. And what happens in our digital environments, oh my gosh, I can talk way for longer than 2 minutes on this one. What happens in our digital environments is when we, as teams, do not define our objects clearly, then there's no way we can communicate that clearly to our end users. Because when we're designing with pixels and code, we can break all the laws of physics. And we can make it very, very difficult for our users to say, what are the things in this space? And how do they all relate to each other? And how do I relate to them? So the other thing that, am I running out of time?
Kind of already did.
Am I already through time? So what I would say, last thing, is this is also about defining your terms, okay? And if you are, I got to work with a company called Delta Airlines, and if you are a company designing, and you are designing complex business software, you definitely need to know the difference between a flight, a leg, a segment, a trip, a route, and a ticket, all right? And sure, events are important, but you need to know, am I canceling a ticket or am I canceling a flight? You need to know that as a developer, you need to know that as a designer, and you definitely need to know that as a user.
All right. Personally, I think that this proposal has good chances. But let's see, Yoda. You don't think you must define your objects first?
Yeah, and I might use my force really strong for that. But I will probably repurpose one of the presentation that I heard on the tech forum from Stepan. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. And he basically was speaking about products. They are not selling the features, but they are selling the feeling. And I might even pick on the airplane company called Delta. If you're flying, are you buying a ticket? Are you buying a way or feeling that you are getting from the point A to B? Stefan had much more appropriate examples because, yeah, I just tried to make some up. And it was, are you buying a mobile phone or are you buying the AirPods just because they're good? Or are you buying an AirPods because you like the way that you are feeling when you're using it? This is basically my proposal for saying not that you need to define your objects first, but you need to define your goals and then find the entities that are associated with the feeling. And it was really hard to come up with this idea after doing the mind exercise with all of the objects that you have in your mind. Because imagine the feeling, it's much harder.
All right. All right. Any verbal support for Miley? Raise your hand. There was one here in the front. Can we get a microphone?
I just want to say that I completely agree with Miley, because I would say that designing software in a way where you define objects and then relations between them, the events between them, the entire process, this is a natural way of thinking. So this is something that is completely natural for the humans, and this is the first instinct when you are designing the software. This is just, the inborn way of thinking, and that's really hard to change. I also agree with your.
You cannot take both sides.
Yeah, I
Take
partially,
the other side.
I partially agree.
Somebody take his microphone.
I partially agree with you, but I think
Whose
that,
side are you on? All right,
Thank you
there's
as well.
another one here. Just to be clear, we're now taking support from Miley.
Yes.
All right,
and
good.
I'd like to back up the argument with an example from social software. And around about 2005, Juri Engström from Finland, creator of the Jaiku social network, he coined the term social objects, talking about some of the most popular networks at the time, which would have been things like Flickr, where the social object was the photograph, or upcoming.org, which was about events, and the social object was the events. In other words, the social part of it was always around the object that had been defined, first of all. And that changed. Later we got Facebook. And I remember the first time someone was telling me about Facebook, I asked, what's it for? I kind of want to know what's the social object around which Facebook is built. And I was given the answer, oh, everyone's on it. Like, there was no social object, it was just there for its own sake. And Twitter, kind of the same. And I would argue that those are, objectively, if you pardon the pun, shitter than the networks we had before, which were based around social objects, where there was a theme around which people could group and have that discussion. Photographs for Flickr, events for upcoming, bookmarks for Delicious, and so on. So yes, I think the discourse in the world of social software is always better around social objects. It sounds to me like what Andre is talking about is starting with jobs to be done, which is interesting. I'd be interested to hear which order things should go. The jobs to be done, and then the objects.
So also one that's kind of on both sides. Thank you. All right, Christian, you get the last one to support Miley, but please only support one side, okay?
Definitely, yeah.
I know.
I think you know, grabbing actual example that was told also by Stephen was about creation of the iPod. I mean, the iPod was created, and that's an object first. It has, of course, hundreds of functions and features, and but it was marketed afterwards, you know, as emotional. But objects first.
All right, that was strong. That might have just whipped it right there. All right, let's hear it from anybody who wants to support Andre, also known as Yoda.
I have the mic, so maybe I
You
can
have
start.
a mic?
Yeah.
All right.
You.
You want to support Yoda?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Crew comes first, always. Sorry.
Of course. When you start to develop, before development, you need to write pseudocode. And pseudocode starts from the entities. Okay, but before starting with entities and objects, you first have the idea. You have some mess with processes with some idea, and first you need to clear that idea for you, and then objects starts with writing pseudocode. But before writing any object, you need to crystallize the idea in your head. So yeah,
right.
starting with this.
Oh,
Thank you,
wow.
thank you.
Wow. All right, I see one here with a nice T-shirt on. I think there's some connection there going on.
Yeah, what's my name, right? So
You don't know?
no, that was the joke you didn't get. That's no problem. I get that a lot. So we talked about flying, right? So did flying start with creation of airplanes or with people actually wanting to get from A to B? You never care about the object. You only care about what you want. So if I need to know if I'm canceling a ticket or a flight or whatever else, it's only the airline's incompetency in understanding my intent. I don't care what flight is. I don't care what ticket is. I want to get from A to B. You get me there. I don't care what you want. And I want to cancel a ticket because something happened. And you don't know what happened because that's your incompetency. So I have to have an app. I have to cancel the ticket on my own. Overall, I don't care about the objects. I want the service. I want to feel good, and I want my intentions completed.
All right, how about that? And there's one here in the back. While the person in the back's getting, I would just say, when you call the airline, you know, you might need to tell them your name. All right, in the back, Dennis?
My name is Plato. I'm a Greek philosopher, and we all know the story of the shadows in the cave. You know? The object, referring to Apple TV Foundation in 3D, is just the shadow of a bigger metaverse object. So you have to have the idea first, and then you can find the object.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
And there's one here in the back. So I kind of feel like all the brilliant speakers are, you know, reappearing. Very good. But let's hear it from the front first, and then the back afterwards.
So just back from maternity leave, I had to comment on the argument that babies learn nouns first. Yeah, when they start speaking, we learn nouns first, but I learned my son first, his needs. So it's to eat, and to drink, and to nurse. So first maybe you think about what you need, and then...
All right. And then perhaps last one all the way in the back.
Sorry.
Also one of the brilliant speakers, yeah?
Sorry, I actually agree with Vesna. My child
You
also...
just took the microphone?
Sorry.
You just joined the dark side.
My child also, his first word was also a need. Take me there.
Okay,
So,
very good.
I agree with that.
All right, Millie, you also want to tell something about your child? I know you brought your daughter here.
No, she's 17 now, so it doesn't matter. No, I think for software, apps, or anything you do, you have to start with what problem are you trying to solve and who for. So first, what is the problem you're trying to solve and who do you want to help?
All right, I think we've heard all that. We're not going to do rebuttals. We're not going to do more childhood stories, but we're going to do the vote.
I don't get any rebuttal?
No rebuttals on this one. All right, just like we didn't do it on the last one either, or on the next one. All right, so raise your hand if you support Miley that you must define your objects first. Come on, all the way up. Evo's counting. Come on. Hey, no two hands. You got it? All right. Now raise your hand if you're with Yoda. This proposal, come on, wow. All right. The good thing is we have more proposals for you to discuss. And now we're going to leave a little bit your comfort zone because I felt like this was a little bit home turf. We're going to talk about something else. Somebody's already mentioned Apple products. There's also social media things going on in this world that's changing around us. And then there is, of course, the kids that we just heard these stories about the kids and the first words. And, of course, also using, trying to zoom in on the IKEA catalog is a very normal thing in Sweden, our neighboring country. But it leads to an important conversation that I think we all need to have also outside this room, and that's the fact that ChatGPT should be in all schools. And here we'll hear it from Yoda first, who's in favor of this. Progress.
Thank you. I will start with one joke that I prepared up front because I knew that I will be Yoda. And it just happened to me to come on my mind during the dean's talk, because his translation languages started basically written his own domain language. And I just came to my mind that Yoda was basically using the postfix notation for his speak. And I was checking it, and it sounds kind of accurate. But back to the point, according to the ChatGPT, I was trying to use ChatGPT multiple times. My basically work is to showcase people how to use our product. Doesn't matter, it requires a lot of content with some specific domains that I have no knowledge about. So trying to generate a lot of content, structured content, some information that I didn't really was capable to comprehend altogether. So I was starting as a developer to take a look how the ChatGPT works and what should I expect. And you already heard it multiple times. This is not the person that you are talking to. It's just doing the probability for the generative AI. I won't get into the detail, but this information should be first taught by someone who can teach and who can provide the information. Because for me, I read it multiple times and I kind of get it from the technical point of view, but for the children, I think it should be done by the professionals. So that's my main goal, is not to use ChatGPT for everything, but tell the people, especially for the children, how does it work, what will help, and what basically results of the ChatGPT will provide you. Not with the true, but with the most probable reaction.
All right.
That's it.
So, ChatGPT should be in all schools because that's where teachers are.
Yeah.
All right, but you have a different view.
Okay, I mean, yeah, it's hard to argue that it should not be there at all, but should it actually be allowed to be used widely? So that's what I will argue against, actually, that it should not be like anything that you are actually being able to assign, that you should be able to use ChatGPT. All right, so arguing against that, it was kind of actually, what I was thinking of is the story that you were telling in the beginning, or you started telling about good times, or what is it, hard times create
Knowledge or something?
Hard times create good, strong people create good times, and good times can create weak people. And I think that this is the reason that we teach our kids math before we give them a calculator. right? You need to learn how numbers work. You need to learn how actually the 10 system works, right? To really kind of exercise your brain before you just start using a calculator. And research, being able to be resourceful. And again, like for those with kids, you want your children, we want our next generation to be very, very resourceful. And already I feel like I'm seeing a lack of resourcefulness. And what worries me is that if information is always just at the fingertips and you don't have any friction on getting that information or any kind of difficulty to get that information, then your resourcefulness muscle starts to atrophy. And we want people to be resourceful. I want to be resourceful. I think it's incredibly important. So I think in UX, I think it's a misconception that the lowest amount of friction is the best. Sometimes we want to introduce some friction. Like, are you sure you want to cancel this flight, right? You want to actually have a little bit of friction for things that are these one-way doors people can't easily back out of. So sometimes you want a little bit of friction, sometimes you want people to struggle, and that's how the caterpillar turns into a butterfly.
Hey, poetry at the end. There we go. And I also liked here, even though we prepared it a lot, I already got the sense from our American friend that we're kind of perhaps working our way towards a compromise here. So let's see if the proposal can pass. Who wants to give some verbal support for Yoda? ChatGPT should be in all schools. All right, let's hear it from the man in the middle down there.
I would argue, yes, we should teach our kids to be resourceful. The question is ChatGPT a resource? Like if you have a control group of not teaching them to use ChatGPT, and then another group that we teach to use ChatGPT, like over 15 years, which group will be more advanced or better like in their life?
All right, very good. There was, I think, also somebody here who wanted the microphone.
I'm feeling like a Miley when I'm using this microphone. Okay, I also want to say that schools are the places where children will learn to use ChatGPT on a responsible way, and that's my only reason.
All right, very good. Yeah. All right, and then perhaps a final one here in the front. Yeah, ChatGPT should be allowed, not only allowed, but should be in all schools.
Yeah, it should be encouraged. I mean, humans will not be replaced by AI. They will be replaced by humans who know how to use AI, and all humans should know how to use AI. I would perhaps not stop at ChatGPT. I would include other models in there and train kids to use it responsibly. But I would easily replace history and other irrelevant subjects that are easily Googleable with something more practical, like learning where money comes from or using AI. So I think this is definitely useful and should be widely applied.
All right, very good, very good. Remember, this is a kind of a psychological safe space. I was hearing some reactions. That's good. We can have some debate. That's good. We don't have to agree. Now from the front, another one of the brilliant speakers.
Okay, one more. In an ideal world, I would be with Miley, actually. But I think in the real world, you can't really keep that out of school. So you better do that in a guided way and in a controlled way.
All right, good. Now one last one. No, it's all good. Another brilliant speaker chipping in here.
Sorry, I have to because I gave a talk about AI and generative models. So the thing is, I think nowadays, even if ChatGPT is not in the school, the kids still have access to it. It's like you're banning, well, when I grew up, it was like mobile phone was banned, you can't take it to school, but it doesn't mean that, kids won't be using it in the future when they grow up. And so I think rather than like not having it, but we should encourage them to be using with our guidance. It's like, when internet come up and it's like, oh, instead of banning your kids to not let them use internet, how about you browse internet with them to teach them like how to be careful about things you see on the internet. It's the same thing. Like tell kids you should be careful about what ChatGPT tell you. Maybe you should also like use your brain to verify whether that's correct or not. So I would rather be like, you know, holding the hands and teach them rather than like not pretend that it doesn't exist, right? So,
All right.
yeah.
All right. So now let's hear it if there's someone who wants to support Miley saying no. And there's one in the front. Let's see if we can keep the comments a little bit shorter. I know Ivo is pushing to get the microphone back.
I think, Andre, but actually you as well, Sophia, made a category error when you just talked about information and associated these tools with information. That's not what ChatGPT does. That's not what large language models and generators do. They make predictions. They're spicy autocomplete. It's all about probability, as you say. If we're going to have Markov chains as educational tools, we might as well have psychic hotlines or horoscopes as educational tools. And I don't think that's the way we should educate people.
Ooh,
they are not informational tools. We've taught computers how to guess, which is an amazing achievement. Previously, computers could not do that. Now computers can guess. Fantastic. But let's keep it to the realism that that's what it's doing. It might look like information. That's not information. That's guessing. And one last point
Have
is
horoscope
that
lessons in school? That sounds amazing.
in the defense of why we should have ChatGPT in school, what I heard a lot was fear-driven education. This is inevitable. I heard the same arguments about crypto bollocks. This is inevitable. You have to get on board. Don't miss out. A fear of missing out is what's driving most decisions these days. But should I get into AI? I do not want FOMO-driven education. I do not think fear of something that's supposedly inevitable, but that we can choose, should be what drives educational decisions.
All right. I think there was one more, perhaps. Did we see one more hand? Oh, there's one more. All right, I have plenty of time.
Okay.
There you go.
Can I have a comment. Do you know why a Roman Empire collapsed?
Is it a trick question?
Yeah, of course. Because they forgot to make concrete. They didn't know how to make concrete anymore. Because they was nice in the Roman Empire, and they become lazy, more lazy, and more lazy. They become very stupid. It's a little bit like we do. So
Everything is
that's
Googleable.
why I wouldn't.
All right, very good. Don't bring it into schools, because then we go like the Roman Empire. All right,
So
now in the back. Thank you.
I would just say that I should ban it from all schools, because right now it is in all schools. My daughter, she's now in high school, and everybody's using ChatGPT, and everybody's using other artificial intelligence tools, for example, like Solving Math with one Croatian product. And it's actually hurting. These are pupils learning in a mathematical gymnasium. They don't actually know how to solve those problems anymore. So of course they should be warned about them, and they should be introduced to them, but certainly not in a younger age, and certainly only with strict limitations, because it gets them lazy. They're actually good.
So you are
pupils
saying
lazy.
ChatGPT should not be in all schools?
Not be in all schools.
Okay, excellent. All right, there's one more over there. I think our contentful speaker.
I would like to say just one word, that's bias. We're just going to introduce bias to the kids, and they're going to learn wrong things, because these tools, they give you biased predictions, they give you biased outputs, and we don't want that going on in the future generation. We want the society to be more inclusive and more welcoming. So tools like ChatGPT are still not there yet to be introduced to kids.
All right, good. So let's take this to a vote. Or is there one last comment on the finishing line? All right, because he has this nice T-shirt on.
Thank you. So first things first, you need to learn critical thinking. That's the first thing. Because this is blindly following some predictions, horoscope, as the man said in the front, which should not be the case. And I forgot one more thing I wanted
But
to say.
critical thinking is a good point.
There's also the data integrity and data validity, which, I mean, most of the time, I need to help him to get to the right answer. So,
yeah.
And one more thing also, whoever controls the ChatGPT controls all the schools and controls all the information.
That's a good point.
So, yeah.
That's a good point. I'm glad we made this. All right, time's out. Ivo is ready to collect the votes. Raise your hand if you support Yoda. ChatGPT should be in all schools. All right.
Yoda was defeated.
Then now raise your hand if you abstain from voting. All right. Now raise your hand if you are with Miley that ChatGPT should not be in all schools. Another proposal that did not pass.
Interesting result.
All right. Do one more? One more? Two more? We have many more. All right, so now we're going to go a little bit outside your comfort zone and think about something that perhaps, if I was doing the program for the Web Summer Camp, should be a little bit more on the program next year. That's sustainability. I think you all know this quote by Robert Swan, the first guy to make it to both the North and the South Pole. And perhaps you've heard this kind of curious fact as well, that while the airline industry doesn't have the best reputation, the internet that we're all working with is actually using even more carbon. You can put it in another way too, and saying that what we're working on is the world's largest coal-powered machine. But as you probably already know, being smart people, having signed up for a conference like this, it doesn't need to be like this. We can do better. We can not only use a search engine that plants trees, but we could also be more careful about the gadgets and the hardware, which is a big part of the carbon. Here's a piece of art I saw, which was all old, outdated phones, water waste. But we can also build websites, which is a big part of the Web Summer Camp. We can also build websites in a better way. So we can make websites climate friendly. And here's just a small example from middle of nowhere in Denmark that I wouldn't really recommend you to go, but it's called Herning. You can then reduce the page climate footprint, and if you pull that slider over, it's without the images, it's with gray tones. So it's a small thing, but if you have a big website that has a lot of loads, then it makes a big impact. So there's a lot of things we can also do systemically, not only individually, in making websites that coincidentally also becomes faster, more accessible, but also better for the environment. So here we go. Here's the proposal. Designing for energy optimization will become as important as designing for performance and UX. Let's hear from Yoda first.
All right. As you know and see, Yoda is in the nature, so he loves that. He was basically living there for all 1,000 years. For designing for energy, I think there is an implication, because if you are making optimizations for performance, you are basically trying to consume less and less. So I would really don't want to go to the designing for performance, because you are basically doing the same as, for example, once Facebook provided their machine learning model, which is called Llama. The first price tag for every single day of running was around $100,000. But then pretty smart people in Stanford, and I don't recall the number right now, but they tuned it up. They call it Llama Alpaca. And it was around, I think, $1,000 a day out of 100,000 per just working model. So I think optimization for performance, which kept the same, and they were even trying to optimize it for performance. It's a little bit connected. This was just an example how it can diverge. So they were directly optimizing for the energy savings, because all of the GPUs are now pretty busy. Performance for UX and energy optimization, I think energy optimization should get at least at that level. I think we can somehow sacrifice the convenience, as nicely Janus showed. Sometimes you don't really need to have the 4K or Retina image on your banner. It will lower your conversion rate. I know you might hate it, the agency guys that are basically doing profit out of the conversions, but maybe we can come up with some other ways to convert people.
All right, very good. All right, I know there's presidential election coming up soon, and this is perhaps sustainability being a big topic, but you say no.
So just for context here, there was only one that we really chose which side we were going to be on, which might be obvious which one of those was. But this was a very difficult one to argue against, but I love a good challenge, so I went for it. So my argument against designing for energy optimization is this. One, well, better performance and better UX should equal better energy optimization. My other argument against this is this really our job? Is this job so much bigger and so much more important that it should be done at a policy level and it should be done at the data center level, right? We can go into dark mode and get rid of the images. That's going to be tiny drops in the bucket. What we need is our energy sources, the data centers, not to be powered by coal. We need the data centers to be powered by alternate fuels, right? By cleaner energy. That's what we need to do, and that is going to happen at policy levels, that's going to happen at international agreement levels, that's going to happen at hardware innovation, right? And figuring out better solar panels, better wind, how can we make nuclear safer, like all these other things to get better sources of energy into our data centers. So this reminds me of kind of like it's industry putting it on the little guy and saying, oh, you just need to recycle, right? You just need to recycle. All right, we need way better systems, right? We need to redesign the systems and not just say, oh, we need to just have dark mode, right? Those are going to be tiny drops in the bucket. This needs to go 3, 4, 5, 6 levels up to be really rethinking how we actually get energy into our data centers.
All right. So let's go quickly. Anybody wants to support Yoda?
The little guy.
All right, this is like when we started, Ivo. Okay. You sure? All right, there's this guy, huh? I think you have a fan there.
Finally.
Yeah.
So like the kind of help you want, or?
My point here is the example that you said, that there is a big factor is a cost optimization, right? If that still costs $100,000 a day, who would use it? Yeah. So the guys at Stanford actually not only optimized for energy, but they made it available, cost-effective. And when we found out that we have engines that consume too much gas or too much diesel, whatever, did we found ways to get that diesel cheaper or get it greener, or did we optimize the engines, really, right? So the cost plays a major role here, and actually looking for green sources of energy is just gonna make the energy more expensive. So why don't we just optimize the energy consumption, and we can get the cost down and get more people on it.
All right, very good. That was helpful. Very good. Anybody else?
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Who supports Miley? That's a no. All right, we have one of the brothers in the back.
Side.
All right, we'll do here first. It's a long way.
I will use the example of diesel engine. If you were running that case as Yoda, would all the manufacturers would say just like drive a bit slower, just like use your car a bit less. The only way diesel engines got more efficient is government stepping in and saying like you need to make them more efficient, and that's basically this, like if you allow industry to make it your issue, then it's not going to get solved and you're going to feel worse about it.
All right, there was also a brother in the back. Let's hear there, and then here afterwards.
Yeah, it is like when you're sick, you are not healing symptoms, you're healing, you need to fight the sickness, right?
Root cause.
Yeah, root cause.
Yeah.
All right, good. And then was there somebody here in the front too? Did we have one there and there? They're running around. All right.
Hello, it's me.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah. Okay. I was last month. I was in Germany and get that menu for the food, but it was all on German. I asked the guy, "Can I have English menu?" He says, "No, we don't do that anymore because it's we are saving paper, energy, and everything. You flip your phone, picture it, make a Google Translate, and it's on English." But how much energy is it really? So I think if you really want to spare some energy, make CMS that generates static content, not dynamic, and you can cache that on lambdas on your edge locations. It will be used just a fraction of energy. That thing UX that screen becomes dark. This is just a drop.
All right, good. And then I think we have the last one here.
Oh,
quick comments.
Sorry. So it's kind of remind me of, you know, now there's like a lot of corporate, they push this like environmental responsibility to the consumer rather than like thinking about they should change internally or they need to take on responsibility. Like they are actually big corporate that actually may be in the energy business, but they may not be the cleanest energy, but they do all this like greenwashing and like kind of pushing and like kind of claiming that it's extra individual responsibility rather than the corporate also have responsibility to do something to like, you know, help to deal with climate change and all these things. So I feel like, again, like if you push this to the designers, it's kind of like pushing it towards individual who are responsible for this like issues, but rather than, you know, like what Miley said, like just like, it's the data center that they are the big guy, that they should also take on responsibility, maybe more responsibility than individuals. Of course, individual can help, but who is the big player here? So we should think about that as well. So.
All right, good. All right, Ivo, you ready to vote? So let's raise your hand if you believe that we can be a part of solving the problem and saving the world. All right, that's not how it was phrased. Designing for energy optimization will become as important as designing for performance and UX. Raise your hand. All right, a few.
No
now,
more.
raise your hand if you believe somebody else should save the world while we go to the beach. All right.
I feel terrible.
Another one that didn't pass. All right, we'll do a quick one. We'll do a quick one. And here was one about robots, robots taking your job. I don't know if that's actually happened or if it's taking some people's jobs and then creating some new ones. But there's also the power of agencies out there who are sometimes very ambitious and sometimes I think perhaps also, depending on who you ask, a little bit spoiled. I used to work at a software vendor once and we had this term called SIT-ATM. Has anybody heard about this? It was called System Integrator Takes All the Money. And the vendors didn't like it because there was no budget left to do the project. But I think this speaks to something again here in 2023, and that is this proposal, which Yoda leads, that as customers get smarter and product gets better, agencies will suffer. So let's hear just quickly on this one.
All right, so I will continue with pushing on agencies. Perfect, it is. Customers are getting smarter, not really, but as they will.
See, he's building for a compromise here.
Yeah.
We can meet in the middle.
As they will, eventually, or maybe, not probably, they will get better of defining what they want, of defining what they desire, of defining what they really are able to spend their money on. So for the argument, if or as the customers get smarter, agencies will suffer. So I completely agree, but I don't really think that it will happen in at least the close future. Thank you.
All right, Andre, get the microphone straight away. You need some help. All right, let's hear it from Miley now. You can make it brief.
Wait, so I'm arguing.
You're arguing that this
like
is not happening.
That no, agencies are not going to suffer.
Agencies are not going to suffer?
Okay, that's
that was brief.
Right, okay, so I'm just making sure I know what I'm arguing. All right, so first, I do agree that maybe customers are getting more discerning. I don't agree that products are getting better. I think, how many times have you been annoyed at technology today? I don't know, I've been annoyed like 17 times at least today. So I don't think our products are getting better. I think they're getting more complicated is what they're getting. They're getting more robust, but they're not necessarily getting easier to use. And we all know this thing called the kludge factor, right? As software gets more mature, somehow it doesn't get more elegant, usually. Does anybody work anywhere where your product, as it's gotten more mature, has actually gotten more elegant? Anybody? Okay, yeah, I've never, as somebody that works at companies, has worked for agencies and is an agency myself, I've never worked at a company where they say, oh, now it's just everything is beautiful and elegant. No, as we get more complicated, somehow things get kludgier and kludgier and kludgier. But I think at the same time, customers are expecting more. We know what is possible. We see glimmers as customers of what could be possible. So customers are getting more discerning, and I think actually products are getting worse and more complicated because of the level of complexity and integrations that people are expecting.
So agencies will have a great time.
So, and also the other reason that agencies will have a great time with this is because I think a lot of the things that agencies do, you need specialties coming into your company, and you don't necessarily need to hire that full time. You need somebody to come on in.
All right, let's just take this straight to the vote. Straight to the vote. Raise your hand if you support the strong, eloquently put arguments of Yoda. It could be wishful thinking. All right, now raise your hand if you support Miley that this proposal should not pass. All right, it did not pass. All right, like with any other town hall, there was a huge debate. Many people wanted to chip in. That was great. We had some more proposals for you, which perhaps we can do another year, another time. You know, we can talk about how UFOs are here. You missed it.
Or we can just help you.
And we also had one more, which you missed also. And that was on in-person conferences, I think, of the past. So you can think about it.
There is no vote there.
But I would just say, Vala, thank you very much for being a part of the town hall.